attitude. So this way the goal of equity is achieved. Equity means giving the desired thing, the required thing to the learner there in the classroom. Students move forward at their own pace, but everyone in the class achieves mastery. So the focus of competency-based education is on mastering a particular competency. Whether you are a Hindi teacher, a teacher of English, mathematics teacher, or a teacher of physical education, music teacher. So before going to the class, you must know why are you going there, what is your prime focus, what is your prime aim or objective. Means after generally earlier we used to talk about these learning objectives, but now learning objectives have been just transformed, or learning objectives have been given, means rather much more importance has been given to learning outcomes these days. So the outcomes must be clear in the mind of the teacher before teaching a particular topic, or before going to the class. This with the goal of equity is achieved, means whatever is required or means desired by the student, by the learner, that is to be given to that particular child. Students move forward at their own pace, but everyone in the class achieves mastery. Competency based education gives a clear focus on preparing students for the next phase in their life, whether it be college or a career. So, though you people just deal with senior students, senior secondary students, so our learning objectives, our competencies, which are expected from the students, will be quite different from those of preparatory stage, foundational stage, or middle stage. Understanding a competency framework. Let's understand what is a competency framework. A competency framework is a structured model, often hierarchical, that outlines the specific skills, knowledge, and attitude. So whenever I say competency, you must be clear about it, that I'm talking about skills, knowledge, and attitudes altogether. So it outlines the specific skills, knowledge, and attitudes required for effective performance in an educational setting. It serves as a guide for educators, teachers, school owners, directors, principals, vice principals, coordinators to design curriculum, instruction, and assessment methods that ensure students develop the necessary competencies. So we shall be just discussing some of the parts, some of the important characteristics of curriculum, instructions, designing curriculum, and assessment, as well as we shall also discuss the process of assessment, means how to assess those competencies, how to make sure a particular child learner has acquired those competencies or not. So we shall also be discussing these things. uh, it's a small video, why there is a need for competency based education. The short video spells the objectives of today's program. So the objective, I think the objective is clear now. A lot of things are there which are expected from a teacher. The teacher needs to be dynamic, vibrant, agile there in the classroom. Gone are the days when means the teacher used to be the main source of knowledge, but now means time had changed. So we need to update ourselves. We need to upskill ourselves. That's why means this session has been planned for you people, and that's why means we all are expected to give something sharper and snappier to the students. That's why upskilling is needed. That's why we are here. We are discussing the nuances of competency based curriculum development. So some key steps, let's discuss some of the key steps here. Identify general competencies. This is the first step. Means whenever we go to the classroom, what do? We think that only one kind of talent is there, only think tanks are there. Sometimes we are under these stereotypes, we have some preconceived notions. No, so we need to understand the competencies or identify the competencies of our learners there in the classroom. Then we must gather data through methods like focus groups, surveys, SWOT analysis, and observations. You must have heard about holistic progress card now. So now the observations will be recorded there. So that's why it becomes necessary here, imperative here to learn about holistic progress card as well. Otherwise, means you shall. How will you know about the competencies of your learners? So you need to gather data through methods like focus. I talked about SWOT analysis, surveys, and observations. Use various sources like subject experts, students, teachers, and online resources. The fourth step is analyze top student performance to identify key knowledge and skills, rather competencies. So before means assessing the students, before presenting your lesson, your topic to the students, you must understand the needs of your learners there in the classroom, and you must tailor your presentation as per the needs of your students, so that you shall be able to sharpen, brush up their competencies or skills. Organize competencies. Define specific competencies within each broad competency area. Consider all aspects of a competency like knowledge, skills, and delivery, rather like public speaking. Suppose a Hindi teacher is there or teacher of English is there. So he must tell the children, means by the end of this very chapter, I'm expecting these things from you. This is my objective. This is my goal. Means rather rote learning should not be the goal, that every child has mugged up certain questions and then they are able to answer them. They are, that means a pen paper test is given to them, they are able to score 90% marks. But whenever any chance is given to them, when you invite them to the morning assembly, what is their response? Ma'am, sir, please kill me, but don't invite me to the stage. I'll not be able to face the eyeballs of the audience. Though the child has scored 90% marks or 95% marks in English or any language, but if he is not able to express himself or herself, then what is the utility? It means we are failing here. We are not able to build those competencies. So assessment part will be discussed later on. You must be clear in your means what opinion, in your objective, what is needed from a particular class or from a particular student. You shall find there is a heterogeneous mixture in the classrooms. So you must design or plan, or you must tailor your presentation as per the needs of your students, as per their competencies. Which competencies do you want to means harbor or harness, nurture in them? Consider all aspects of a competency like knowledge, skills, and delivery. Ask yourself key questions to align goals with the curriculum. So curriculum designing here does not mean that you have been given this responsibility. You are the designer of the curriculum. Curriculum here refers to the lesson plan, how to plan your lesson so that you are able to meet the needs of the learners there in the classroom. Then set performance criteria. Create rubrics or standards to measure each competency at different levels. Establish criteria for both positive and negative performance. Sometimes you will not be able to achieve 100% result as well. Sometimes you may prove a great fiasco, but you must think about those things also. The pros and cons must be thought upon before means teaching those competencies or before nurturing those competencies. Design learning experiences as well. Plan engaging activities where students can demonstrate their acquired skills. So competency-based education primarily focuses on skills, interest, knowledge, and attitude or interest. So you must plan, you must know how to plan engaging activities, those attractive activities, so that the children do not feel bored there. So again, focus on the learning environment and student work products. Your focus must be on the process, the method, the way in which you deliver your content to the children. That is much more important. Encourage student participation in designing learning experiences. So basically, you must encourage students. You must exhort them to participate in the activities which are conducted in the class day-to-day basis. Only then you shall be able to develop, harness. You shall be able to hone their competencies. So these are some of the rubrics of this plan or design. Assess competency. Suppose we have taught those things. Suppose a child is there. Let me make it very clear now. Competency based education means, suppose a child is there or you are there. Suppose you have purchased some books on driving skills, how to drive a car. You have mastered 3 books, 4 books, and suppose a test is given to you. You are taking that test and you are scoring 100% marks in the test, written test. You know what is ABC. This is accelerator, brakes, and clutch. You know how to drive it, but means you know the techniques only verbally. Means those techniques are there, but when you are asked to drive a car, you don't know how to drive it. You have that phobia. You cannot take it outside your compound. You cannot drive in a big metropolitan city. It means you have not acquired that competency. The things are known to you, you have the knowledge only, but you cannot perform it. So it becomes imperative here to assess those competencies. Suppose we have taught them, we have discussed those things there in the classroom, but until and unless assessment is not done, what will happen? We shall never be able to delve deep again into the psyche of the children, whether they have learned these skills or not, these competencies or not. So the very first step is here: evaluate if students can apply the desired knowledge, skills, and talents. The teacher again needs to the teacher needs to be updated and upskilled. So he must know the nuances, he must know the principles of assessment as well. So we shall also be discussing some of the ways of assessment here. Evaluate if students can apply the desired knowledge, skills, and talents which has been imparted by you. And then number 2 is use formative, summative, and self-evaluation methods to assess program level competencies. In order to assess program level competencies, what should be done? You should, as an educator, you should use formative assessments, summative assessment, and self-evaluation methods, so that you are able to gauge whether the child has learned those competencies, mastered those competencies or not. Since you are dealing with senior students there, the students are teenagers, so the competencies will be different and the learning outcomes will also be different as compared to the preparatory stage or the foundational stage. Number 3, link assessment to industry needs to bridge the gap between academy and real world application. So means the children, they must be made aware that why are they being taught those things there, what is the need of the competencies. Means you are preparing them, as in the very beginning of the module we discussed, that you are preparing them for life. So that's why they must be told, they must be made aware about the real application of those competencies. Understanding competency based learning. Here we shall have a quick a fleeting look at these slides. Competency based learning is a well known educational strategy that places a strong emphasis on student demonstrating their desired learning outcomes as the core of the overall learning process. A student progresses through the curriculum as their competencies are demonstrated at their own pace, rate, depth, and other similar criteria. Means different, as we talked about, that the classroom is a heterogeneous mixture of students. So the competencies learned, the competencies discussed, the competencies taught will be different. Again, differentiated learning comes into play here. A competency framework of curriculum design places more emphasis on the multiple complex outcomes of a learning process, such as skills. I have been talking about these skills, knowledge, and attitudes to be applied by learners, rather than only what students are expected to acquire in terms of traditionally defined topic matter. So here comes a difference between the competency-based framework or competency-based education and the traditional method of teaching. Means earlier the focus was on written test, pen paper test, but now our focus is whether the learner has acquired those competencies or not. So the teacher, they must ensure this thing, means through assessment, and the assessment will also be a different kind of assessment, not a pen paper test or rote kind of learning test, na? So it will not be based on grades or marks. You shall just assess the competencies acquired. A comprehensive six-step process to design a competency-based curriculum. How to design that curriculum, how to plan that curriculum. So we shall discuss some of the steps here, some of the principles here. This framework emphasizes complex learning outcomes like skills, knowledge, and attitudes. So let me repeat my words here. Whenever we talk about competency-based education, our focus must be on skills, knowledge, and attitudes over traditional subject content. The curriculum involves identifying general competencies, organizing them into themes, establishing performance criteria, creating learning experiences, assessing competency, and evaluating effectiveness of the competency acquired. So, this we shall discuss some of the steps here, six steps. So you must be careful, means you must be mindful rather. Competency based framework of curriculum design here. A competency based model of curriculum design is an educational approach that emphasizes the mastery of specific competencies or skills as the primary focus of instruction. So when you are designing your lesson, when you are planning your curriculum, you must means you must keep
क्या
these.
तरीका है ये ऐसे किया तो दिख रहा है
Ma'am,
बड़ा
please mute yourself. Ma'am, please mute yourself.
नहीं तो वो ये
In this
करना है
model, the curriculum is designed around the knowledge, skills, and abilities or attitude. Attitude should not be mistaken here. Attitude does not mean arrogance. Attitude means inclination. Attitude means here, attitude stands for aptitude also, the inclination of a particular child that students need to acquire in order to be successful in a particular field or profession. Again, let me make it clear that the purpose, the objective of this framework or curriculum, competency based curriculum, is to prepare future ready citizens. Competency based education, what's the difference? Let's have a quick look. In traditional education, the year is set out in advance for every student. Means we decide beforehand, means before the beginning of commencement of the session or in the very first month of the session, what is done? A curriculum plan is made. Okay, this is to be taught in the month of January or February or March, or suppose your session is commencing from April onwards, so April, May, June, July, like this. So everything is planned, set out in advance for every student. Thus, at the end of each unit, every student must move forward whether or not they fully understand the material or have mastered the necessary skills. This is the old system. This is the traditional system. But competency based education, on the other hand, competency based education is flexible. It talks about flexibility and adaptability as well to the students and where they are in the learning process. That means students are given the support they need individually to move forward and master the subject and inherent skills. Here, the role of a teacher becomes much more pivotal. So the teacher is acting as a guide there, is is a friend also, and is helping the children. So kind of experiential learning is taking place there. In order to build the competencies of the students, in order to acquire those desired results, the teacher is supposed to work hard. The teacher is also means contributing so far as uh, the objectives are concerned or the outcomes are concerned. Instead of moving forward based on age, students move forward based on where they are and what they are capable of. Thus, this competency based education framework is based on learning outcomes. Outcomes are kept, means this is kind of backward system. Learning outcomes, let's discuss what are the learning outcomes. It means I have been discussing or talking about learning outcomes for the last half an hour. Learning outcomes may be defined as traditionally learning outcomes are focused on memorization and comprehension with the goal of passing test. This is the upper statement belongs to the traditional system of education. But here, in competency-based framework, the focus is placed on deep understanding of the concept that is demonstrated through application. So how will you assess it? Through application. So this is means you will involve the child. So far as assessment is concerned, you shall involve the child in some hands-on experiences, hands-on exercises. This means that learning outcomes are proven by action and focus on building the skills students need to become learners into adulthoods. Limitations and challenges. Let's discuss some of the challenges also you may face. Suppose when you are applying the rules and principles of competency based education, you shall have to face some limitations also, some challenges might be there. Key competencies must be determined and defined for each class, which is difficult. Sometimes teachers they find it difficult to identify the learning objectives. So sometimes defining or determining the key competencies is a very Herculean task. They find it quite difficult. So this is one of the limitations of this very framework. Assessments must be more meaningful and creative, generally which are not made meaningful and creative. What do? We test those skills or those things which are unknown to the child. Rather, our focus should be on the known part. So assessments here, so far as this competency-based education or framework is concerned, assessments are supposed to be meaningful and creative. Assessments are not made for uh, punishment, that you are punishing the children, or assessment should not be boring or repetitive. Okay, teachers must be constantly aware of student progress, that the teacher needs to check the progress of the child time and again, and thus be ready to jump in and help a student who doesn't understand or isn't on track. So let me make it clear here. Teacher's role is very important here, very significant here. The teacher's role is crucial here. The teachers need to update themselves. The teacher, somebody's microphone is on. Could you please unmute yourself? Sorry, mute yourself. Somebody's microphone is on. Please mute yourself. All this being said, the challenges mentioned above can be overcome. So this is not so that this competency-based education is not everybody's cup of tea. This is not so. This is the order of the day. And altogether, who are the frontline soldiers? You teachers. We teachers are rather. The onus lies on our shoulders. That's why. So these challenges are there, but these can be overcome by building a well-informed, research-based system. Competency-based education can succeed, or it can be implemented in schools. There are so many challenges in implementation. That's why I included this very slide here. The six main principles of competency-based framework. Let's discuss them one by one. Equity is set before all else. We discussed in the very beginning that equity means giving the desired things to the individual child. So equity here does not mean equality. There should not be any confusion between equity and equality. Equity means giving the desired things, giving the required thing to the learner. Equity does not mean giving each student the same thing as everyone else. Instead, it means giving each student what they need to reach the same end goal. In the very beginning of this very presentation, what did we discuss? That each and every child learns with his own rate and pace. So we should not be biased there. Our approach should be unbiased. Again, a lot of flexibility is required on the part of the teacher so far as the
मैं
implementation
तो
of this
सिर्फ यही
very
बोलूँ घर बना दे ताकि
framework
मैं
is
आके रह पाऊँ
concerned. This is the main principle of competency based education because it purposely seeks to understand and remove bias in school leadership. Students are taught and supported based on their personal strengths and weaknesses. Weakness, this word should not be used rather. In place of weakness, we may use areas of improvement, giving each individual the same chances for success. Though the content is same, but how it is taken by the students, by the learners, that differs. That will always differ because again we have a variety there in the classroom. We have a diversity there in the classroom. So far as this approach is concerned, this framework is concerned, competency-based framework is concerned, again, the teacher needs to be upskilled, updated, dynamic, vibrant. Thus, the predictability of achievement based on culture, social class, household income, or language is completely removed. There should not be any barriers there. Generally, what happens in our setups, now we have students from very humble backgrounds also who hail from small villages, and we have the students who are from business families or whose parents are business tycoons. So what do? We put them on the same page. So again, competency based education or framework will be, or curriculum will be applied or implemented in letter and spirit when the teacher is unbiased, when the teacher puts every learner on the same page and designs his or her lesson or curriculum, or designs his or her curriculum as per the diverse needs of the learners. Competency based education also helps create an inclusive culture where all students feel safe and respected. So this again becomes the first and foremost duty of the teacher here, that he is able to create a kind of inclusive and equitable environment in the school or class. Here, the role of the leaders also becomes very important and prominent. Number two, classes emphasize measurable competencies that help build skills for life. Sometimes what happens, we design our curriculum and we do not take help of the parents, we do not take them in loop. Their expectations are very high. Suppose your school is a very renowned school, it's one of the elite schools in the area. So a child who comes from a very humble background, a rural background, whose language is not so good, so what are the expectations of the parents, that as and when the child is admitted to the school, after 2 months, 3 months, what will happen? A miracle will happen. The teacher, they have holy water in their kamandals, and they have magic wands with them. They will transform the child into a successful citizen. So community outreach or parents opinion should also be kept in mind while means designing the curriculum. You must keep the parents in loop. You must tell the parents. Suppose you are the class teacher of 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11 class. So whenever when PTM is there, parent teacher meeting is there, you must make it clear, ki, sir, this is the level of your child, and these are my expectations, and your expectations must align with my expectations. What do you expect? So the unrealistic goals and expectations of the parents, they must be removed, or rather their doubts must be removed. Otherwise, you have planned your lesson, you have designed your curriculum as per the needs of the students, but you didn't inform the parents. What will happen? There will be a communication gap. The parents, they will come to you, they will again pester you with their questions. So, what is to be done? Before designing the curriculum, before making your lesson plans, you must take the opinions of the parents. What are their needs? These days, children, they don't have any aspirations, rather. I'm saying it in a lighter vein. But the parents, they have means very high expectations. Rather than just testing the forehead knowledge, competencies focus on the practical understanding that a student has of the subject. Again, let me give you an example. If a, a child is there, he's not able to score good marks in mathematics, but when he is sent to a particular shop to buy something stationery, he is able to figure out the amount. Suppose you give him 500 rupees, he purchased notebooks of 120 rupees, a pen of 80 rupees, and some what we call stationery items, and the cost now goes up to 350 rupees, and the child is able to take 150 rupees. He tells that all those calculations to the shopkeeper, means he has those competencies. But so far as pen paper test is there, the child fails miserably. So this should also be kept in mind, and the parents, they must be made aware about those competencies. Earlier, when your child was admitted to the class, he was not able to face the audience, he was not able to speak, utter even a single word. But now, when he is given a topic, beautifully he delivers that topic in the morning assembly. So the child has received, or the child has acquired that competency, that he is able to face the audience now. So, dear parents, though in pen paper test the child is not doing well, but so far as social skills are concerned, so far as this means uh, communication is concerned, the child has improved a lot. So, what is to be done while deciding or while planning your lessons, while planning your curriculum for a particular period of time, you must take help of the parents. You must inform them. So many other channels are there. You may send a note in the student almanac. You may call them telephonically. You may invite them to the school, but you must inform your authorities beforehand. You may send mails also. So many other platforms are there. This is up to you. So these competencies can be based on understanding the key concepts, ability to apply knowledge to meaningful problems, mastery of relevant skills. So this should be the structure. Understanding of key concepts, this comes, knowledge comes here. Ability to apply knowledge to meaningful problems, skills again, knowledge skills, mastery of relevant skills again, attitude. So it's a three-way formula, rather, or rather it involves three things here again: knowledge, skills, and attitude. In order for the results to be measured, competencies must be defined in advance by school leadership. Don't try to do this alone. Get the input of the whole school staff, teaching staff, to develop ideas on what knowledge and skills are necessary to determine mastery. So here, collaboration on the part of the teacher or the management or the school is required here. Means you are sitting in a team, and then you are deciding the learning outcomes or the competencies. If needed, parents may, if needed, this is not so. Parents must be taken into consideration, rather may also be taken in loop while planning the curriculum. So this is not the task of a single teacher, a team of teachers, and rather the entire management should decide those competencies, and parents must be consulted while deciding the learning outcomes or the competencies. Number three is transparency helps students take ownership. I discussed this very point earlier also, that the teacher needs to be unbiased here. Only then we shall be able to achieve the desired results. What is the end goal for each student in a particular class? They should be kept in mind. The answer to this question shouldn't only be available to teachers. This should be available to the parents also, and to the child, to the learner also. Ki beta, this is my objective, and what are your expectations. So you decide those competencies. Ki by the end of 1 month, 15 days, 20 days, 3 weeks, I shall be able to do this thing. So competency based education, basically, primarily, it focuses on outcomes. The learning objectives that are set for the class and the school as a whole should be clear to both students and parents. That's why I asked you to involve parents while designing the curriculum. In a competency based education system, students understand these three things when starting the class. What are these three things? These are what they need to learn, how mastery is defined, and how they will be assessed. So, dear educators, now it is your duty that you must teach the students, you must tell them beforehand how are you going to assess them. They must know the techniques of assessment, on what grounds you are going to assess them, evaluate them. Only then we shall be again able to apply or implement this competency based framework there in the schools. Okay, when each student has the end goal clear in mind, they will take more responsibility for their own education. Make short goals. So they will also support you, they will also help you, they will cooperate there. For example, a student understands that he needs to take his understanding of maths and apply it by completing the project of designing a small garden. He needs to use math skills to measure the size of the area and determine how many plants will fit. So this is not so that you are testing the rote learning of the child. What is the measurement of a particular garden? How many plants will be accommodated there? This should not be done. Experiential learning, practical things should be known to the child. If the student clearly understands what he needs to do in order to be proficient and move forward in the class, he will take more ownership over his education. So we are not hankering, means we are not hanker after marks here. We are not running after grades and marks here. Rather, the focus is on acquiring competencies and skills. Skills mean adaptability is also one of the skills. Resilience is also one of the skills. Communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking. All these are skills. Then when he hits a snag in the project or lacks the knowledge to finish it properly, he will realize on his own that he needs help. So he will not be miserly in taking help from others, because collaboration is also, teamwork is also one of the skills. And if he has mastery over the collaboration, he if he is ready to be the part of a team, then he will not feel bad or embarrassed about his pitfalls, shortcomings. He will come forward. He will discuss his gray areas of improvement. I'm saying lacunas may be termed as areas of improvement with the teacher and with his fellows, with his peers. Transparent goals. Somebody's microphone is on. Please switch it off. Transparent goals and outcomes thus help students take responsibility for their learning path. This ownership, in turn, helps them become better learners now and into adulthood. So, what did we discuss? That we are preparing through competency based education or framework, we are preparing future ready citizens. So, this is the main objective, the end goal, rather. Number four is students get the support they need individually. So it is about personalized learning also, competency based, may be called personalized learning. Following the example above, let's say that the student has a problem with his garden project and comes to the conclusion that he needs help. This is where teachers' availability comes into the picture. In a competency based education environment, students should have a framework to understand how long they should work on a problem before asking for help. So, first of all, they should be left on their own. But when help is needed, they should not feel bad about taking help or asking for help from their peers or from their teachers. Framework to understand how long, but they must be made clear about it. Suppose a child in the very beginning, you have given some project to a particular child, and he says, "Ma'am or sir, I don't want to complete it. I don't have the requisite skills. You please do it for me." Then again, you will prove a great failure there. So you must tell the steps also. If this is the first step, this is mandatory for you. The second step, if you face any problem, you may take help of your seniors or your peers. And if the problem is still there, you may come to me. You may take help of the teacher as well. So this must be made clear to the child. Competency based education works through bias and produces equity. So, as teachers work with students through their different weaknesses, let me replace the word weakness here with areas of improvement and help them draw on their strengths. Each student is moved forward towards mastery on a unique but equally effective path. Means you may decide different competencies for different students. This is not so. Means as per the time, as per the pace of the student, as per the rate of the student, means competences will differ from individual to individual. This personalized learning experience gives each student an equal opportunity for success. So the key principles of a competency based classroom, what are those? Equality, equity, and success and growth, mastery over a particular skill. For this process to work smoothly, though teachers must be available to help students, again, the teacher needs to be very active here. Very prominent role the teacher should play here. The teacher should be must be available to help students. Also, they can't just rely on students asking for help. Teachers need to be fully aware of each student's progress. Again, the teacher needs to delve deep again into the student's progress and students' interest and aptitude and skills. The teacher must be the teacher must have uh, the data of the students ready with him or her. Teachers assess for growth and mastery. So in this competency based framework or education, or curriculum, the teacher, they assess for growth and mastery, for the marks or for certification. Assessments come in many shapes and sizes here. Here are three types of assessments that are especially useful for competency-based education. We discussed these assessments in the very beginning. After that, we shall move forward or we shall discuss the outcomes. These assessments help teachers to determine where each student is in the learning process and tailor their teaching lesson plan as necessary. Formative assessments are given after a short intervals, rather after 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months. Summative assessments are long-term assessments after 3 months, 6 months, rather half yearly, annually, or quarterly. But formative assessments, class tests, unit test, these are, or you are testing a particular skill also. So then, uh, then comes the role of these formative assessments. These assessments help teachers determine where each student is in the learning process and tailor their teaching lesson plan as necessary. Formative assessments give teachers the ability to adjust in real time by clearly identifying the key areas where students need to improve. Again, here, the work of the teacher becomes very important. Means the teachers need to identify the core competencies, the level, the scale, the pace of the student. So how will they assess it? Again, assessments, formative assessments. For example, teachers may ask students to submit a video essay or create a digital portfolio that can be shared online. These type of assessments allow students to demonstrate their understanding of the subject, which is the basis for competency-based framework. Then the teacher can adjust the next lesson accordingly or plan one-on-one time with students who showed less understanding of the subject. Okay, let me rephrase it. If a, if a teacher gives a group work to the students, the teacher asks the students to do a survey or a portfolio, and suppose five students have been assigned this task, three students, they were very active, they did all the work, and two remaining students, they did not turn up, they just asked the other student to write their names on the portfolio or on the project work. So then we shall never be able to achieve our goals here. So each and everybody's contribution is needed here. So you must identify those two students who did not contribute. Then you must focus on those two particular students. You must pair them with the students who are of their own taste or their similar attitudes or aptitudes. Then comes authentic assessment. This is also one of the key features, or this again, this is on the part of the teacher here, that the teacher must take authentic assessments, and he must produce, or he must make a clear and authentic and genuine report, rather. Getting students to take their knowledge and apply it to real world situation is another great way to demonstrate mastery. Additionally, students get to develop skills that they will need in the future. So, authentic assessment again is the order of the day here. Authentic assessments might include using English knowledge to write a cover letter or a job application. Again, let me repeat those things, to deliver a lecture in the morning assembly, to conduct a quiz, or to demonstrate something in the form of role play or nukkad natak or mime or skit, or using an understanding of physics to design and build a stable tower out of toothpicks and marshmallows. These are some examples only. So, authentic assessments means hands-on experiences or hands-on assessments, which are done in the presence of the teacher. This should be avoided, rather, that you are giving some assignment to the child and the child goes home, and then he takes the help of the parents in order to complete a particular project. Then we shall never be able to achieve our targets, our objectives, or our outcomes. So, in the presence of the teacher, the students, they must be encouraged to complete a particular project, and you must monitor them also. We shall talk about the monitoring part later on, but you must monitor them. closely. Rather, you should not interrupt them if a child is not participating or not contributing. You should not intimidate the child. Rather, you must observe the child closely, and then you must come with a solution after the end of the project. Otherwise, in between, if you are interrupting, means again we shall never be able to achieve the target. Assessment part here. Students move forward when they demonstrate mastery by including regular assessments and data. Assessment does not mean here pen paper test. Assessment may be designed by the teachers as per the need of the students, as per the need of the school, as per the resources available. So this assessment should not be mistaken here that every day you are means planning assessments for the children. You are overburdening them. This should not be done. Assessment may be in any of the forms. Suppose you are taking them out for a kabaddi match or a volleyball match, and some of the students they are showing great collaborative skills. They are helping others also. They are very active, and some of the students they are very introvert. They are defined, withdrawn. They are not taking part in the game. It means this was your target, that by the end of 1 month you shall try to inculcate, or you shall try to nurture this habit of collaboration among the students. And suppose there are 30 students in the class, 25 students they get mixed up with each other, they talk to each other. But five
चालू है
students,
मेरा बेटा वो तेरे को बाद में देते हैं।
please mute yourself, ma'am. Could you please mute yourself? And five students they are not turning up. Five students they are not ready to be the part of a team. So what will happen here? And you think, oh, 25 students, they are ready. My team is ready. No, you must think about those five students rather. Otherwise, this competency-based framework will be a great failure, a great fiasco. So there's a term that talks about inclusive education also. You must be aware about a slogan which used to be used by this polio drops campaign. That was एक भी बच्चा छूट गया सुरक्षा चक्र टूट गया, means सबका साथ सबका विकास. So this competency based education focuses, or it lays emphasis on सबका साथ सबका विकास. And again, a teacher's role becomes very important. So dear teacher, that's why you have been invited here to upskill yourselves, to update yourselves so far as this competency based education or framework is concerned. Okay, let's have a quick look at this competency-based education. This is the gist of this very presentation. These insights must have helped you in developing the how with 4 clear pillars that are in line with the competency-based education system. Means learning is anytime, anywhere. The formal system of classroom is not only education. Learning can happen anywhere, anytime. During the suppose the last bell goes and you are moving along with the children, and the children they are going out, but they have not switched off the lights and fans. It means they are lacking that competency. They are not serious about environmental concerns. They have not been taught about saving the environment or conserving energy. So it means they lack in taking social responsibility. So this must also be made clear to them. If somebody, suppose somebody, this is rainy season going on, if somebody sleeps in between and student they're laughing at that child, they're not helping him, it means again the student they have not acquired those competencies. Again, whose failure is there? School's failure is there, teachers' failure is there. So empathy, sympathy, these skills are to be taught to the children. Rather, the children they must be made aware about those things, and these things cannot be taught during the formal class or formal classroom interaction. So, in competency-based education, learning can happen anywhere, anytime. That's it. This is the main principle. Learning is authentic and connected. Again, pen paper test is not there. Authentic means you are giving the clear idea, you are giving the genuine feedback to the child, to the parents also, to the management as well. You are focusing on the competencies of the children, and these are connected to other subjects also, to the other streams also, to the society as well. This is not a formal way of teaching the child. that you are going there, you have a PPT ready. Dear children, today I'm going to teach you these skills. So skills cannot be taught, rather. Still, skills are acquired. So if every now and then you are making them aware about your goals, about your objectives, about your outcomes, or the outcomes which you are expecting, I think the children, they will also feel focused, and you shall get 100% cooperation from them. Learning is student owned, student centered to hai, but it is student owned as well. The student takes the ownership here so far as this competency based curriculum is concerned. Learning is community supported. So community, what is community here? The parents, the rickshaw walas, the bus drivers also, means they also teach a lot of things. And students, suppose they help them out also, they celebrate their birthdays, the bus conductors, the helpers, the support staff, if those people are also respected and given honor by the students, if the student, they wish them also good morning bhaiya, good morning didi, means you are successful in nurturing those competencies in the students. So this is not so that it's a pen paper test. There's a book called Competency Based Education. You purchase that book from the market, or it is available on the website of CBSE or NCRT. You download it. You just give them the ideas. The children, they memorize those facts and principles, and then a test is given to them. They take the test, and they score 100% marks. This is not the definition of competency based education. Rather than you are taking them out also, you notice their behavior, their gestures, and if you are satisfied, you are happy with their behavior, their appearance as well, means it means that you are going in the right direction. So the curriculum should be planned keeping in view all these facts, these principles which are being talked about here. Now, towards competency based education, curriculum via learning outcomes. Let's align the learning outcomes with the curriculum planning. Curricular expectations are discipline specific or grade specific. Learning objectives are content based and used to bring out curricular expectations, and each content area will have specific learning objectives. Pedagogical processes means here, which way do you adopt there in the classroom? These may be field trips, community outreach programs. You are taking them to a hospital, you are taking them to a post office, you are taking them to Nagarpalika office, you are taking them to a nearby village. They are interacting with the old people there, elderly
I forget
people.
to.
They are discussing, or they are asking them about their problems, the problems which are being faced by the elderly people, and they are making a diary also. They are keeping a good deed diary also. And you are just simply, you when the child comes to the class, this should not be done that you are asking, you have given them an assignment, you have to help someone there in the society, in your vicinity, in your neighborhood. Suppose you have given this assignment to a particular child. Let me use humor, a little bit humor here. A child was given this type of homework by a teacher. The child went home. Next day, when he came to the school, the teacher asked, yesterday I had given you an assignment that you have to help someone. Did you complete the assignment? Yes, ma'am. I helped a lady. I, along with my friends Ram, Sham, Ghansham, Sita Ram, we five all together helped an old lady. We helped her in crossing the road. Then the teacher thought, oh, why did you involve four of your friends in helping that old lady? Ma'am, the lady was not willing to cross the road. By force, we took the lady and we helped her in crossing the road. So this kind of homework should not be given to the students. Rather than, you must observe them closely. You must observe them whether they are displaying those attitudes, behaviors, or gesture. Yes or no? So this should be your assessment criteria, rather, assessment process. Then comes pedagogical processes, help achieve learning objectives, involves creating a learning environment and experience using various learning resources to provide different learning experiences also. So take them out. A class outside the classroom is the true method of assessment, dear educators. A class
Sir, we can't hear you.
Riddhi? Hello, am I audible to you?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So earlier I was not
Yes,
audible.
sir. No, not at all.
Yeah, even
Oh
the
Yes,
my
screen
God.
is
Oh
not
my God. I'm so
visible.
sorry. Why didn't you tell me then?
I
Even
said
it's
to
not
you,
on.
sir.
Oh
We
my God.
messaged you, and now the screen is
Screen is
also
not
not
there.
working, sir.
Oh, just a minute. Just a minute, ma'am. Just a minute. Is the screen visible now? Nobody mentioned it, na?
No,
No,
sir.
no,
No,
no.
sir.
Screen is
Okay,
visible.
Now it's visible.
Now,
okay,
now
okay.
it's visible.
Now it's
Now it's
Okay,
visible.
okay. I'm audible to you also?
Yeah, yeah.
Sir.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes,
I'm
sir.
so sorry. Okay, so let's
On
have a
the
quick,
next slide. On the
quick.
next slide, slide
Yes, sir.
34.
Okay,
This slide we
okay.
finished, yeah.
Let's ponder the curriculum tribe. Curricular expectations have been discussed here. Learning objectives, pedagogical processes, learning outcomes also. So these terms are linked to each other. Learners have to be provided with opportunities. I have been talking about the community outreach programs also. You must take help of the parents while designing the curriculum towards achieving
Yeah.
competence. CB stands for here competency based education. Learning outcomes are learners have to be provided with opportunities to work in pairs, group, individually. Only then we shall be able to implement this competency based education in true spirit. To observe and explore the immediate surroundings also means a school outside the school or a classroom outside the classroom. So that is the principle of this competency based education. Record and express them in oral, written, drawings, gestures. These are some of the other forms also. So you must notice them time and again. This is not so that you are giving them a pen paper test. They are excelling in that pen paper test, but they are not showing good behavior there in the classroom. They are not ready to be the part of a team. So I think again we shall prove a great failure there. To discuss with elders and visit different places, collect information from them on the topic of their choice and discuss their findings in the groups. So these are some of the ways. In this way we can implement this competency based education, or we may plan our curriculum as per these learning outcomes. Okay, now it's your turn. Am I audible to you, dear educators?
Yes,
Could you
sir.
please say yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Looking at yourself as a learner, working independently, complete these sentences, then work in groups and call it. No, there's no need to work in groups. We cannot work in groups here. I learn slowly when. Okay, let me name someone. You may take a screenshot of this very slide. I learn quickly. Means, let me make it easier for you. I learn slowly when the teacher is boring, when the teacher is not contributing a lot, when the teacher is not engaging the children, the learners. So I learn slowly. This may be your answer. This may be your response for the next question. I learn quickly when the teacher is very agile, very active, very dynamic, or when I'm given a chance to work as a work in a team. Learning from textbooks is sometimes it's permanent. It is much more formal also. Learning in groups is, I think, it's joyful. It's a great experience. I learn well from someone who understands me, or who understands my needs also. I enjoy learning when my group is there with me, when the teacher is very gentle, when the teacher is very what we call kind-hearted, when the teacher is not
When the
miserly.
teacher appreciates the child.
Okay, when the teacher appreciates the child, appreciation and motivation, these are also two important things as well. So far as competency-based education is concerned, ma'am or sirs, means what is required, this exercise can also be undertaken. Means teachers' appreciation and motivation is also required. That's why for teacher empowerment, such type of workshops are being organized. So basically, the prime focus or the objective or the outcome will be different here. The objective here is to empower teachers, to upskill teachers, to upgrade teachers. So this exercise can also be undertaken with the children in your class to find out more about them as learners and plan your curriculum according to competency-based framework. Learning outcomes. Learning outcomes are statements that describe or list measurable and essential mastered content knowledge, reflecting skills, competencies, and knowledge that students have achieved and can demonstrate upon successfully completing a course. Suppose you are a teacher of language. You are teaching English to a particular class 9 or class 10. So what are your means what do you expect from a particular child or from the class in total? So I think your outcomes will be means your objectives will be different for each child. So this is called differentiated learning here also. You must know, you must delve deep into the psyche of your students, your learners there, and you must plan your presentation. You must tailor your lesson as per the needs of your learners. So you must keep learning outcomes there in your mind. Learning objectives are different. Students will learn factual knowledge, terminology, classification, methods, and trends. This is the definition of learning outcomes here. Students will think about applications of course material to improve thinking, problem solving, and decisions. So this is knowing is learning objective. Students will have an appreciation of related applications to real life of the theories they learn. But doing is competency-based education. When the children, the learners, they display that knowledge acquired, skill acquired, and attitude. So this CBE, competency-based education, is a blend, amalgamation of knowledge, skills, and attitude altogether. Structure of learning of outcomes, how to means, align your competency-based education or framework with the learning outcomes. The statement of a learning outcome can begin with students will be able to, followed by an appropriate verb relating to the desired action or performance, ending with the object of the statement describing the content to be learned. In our B.Ed course, we used to write these objectives before making the lesson plan, that by the end of this very poem, the children, they will be able to recite the poem, they will understand the poem. But here, will be is replaced with are. Means the students are able to, the students are doing that thing. That is competency. I mean, the student, they are displaying, they are exhibiting that competency, which was expected from them. Okay, so this is the difference between outcomes and objectives here. Components of competency-based education learning outcome. So learning objectives can include three components: performance, conditions, and criteria. Performance, all smart learning objectives contain a performance component. Means the child has to show, exhibit, showcase that mastery, that talent, that competency. The performance statement describes what the learner will know or be able to do in specific measurable terms. The statement should contain an action verb. Conditions. A learning objective may include conditions. Conditions describe the circumstances under which the participant will perform. Conditions can include tools, situations, settings, restrictions, limitations, and resources that will direct the activity. So, learning outcome will differ as per the performance, conditions, resources, time, criteria also. Criteria describe the required level of quality of performance. Criteria can be described in terms of accuracy, minimum or maximum, productivity level, time and degree of excellence. Let me make the things clear here. Suppose you belong to a school which is situated in a metropolitan city, Mumbai, Pune, or Thane, and means then what will be the learning outcomes which are there in your mind, or what the learning outcomes will differ from a school which is situated in a rural area, in a rustic background, because there the parents, they will feel happy if the child is able to communicate in English, in simple English. But so far as the outcomes or the expectations of a city school or of an elite school will be different, so your learning outcomes will be affected by performance, conditions, and criteria. You must keep all these things in mind. Learning outcomes should be SMART. SMART is an acronym of specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time framed. So, in order to achieve these learning outcomes, what is required? Formative assessment is required. Means the child must be tested time and again. Again, there's no need of pen paper test. What is required there? You have to means arrange such type of situations, circumstances there in the school itself. If you are taking them out, we talked about taking the students out to a nearby village or nearby locality. They are interacting with elders there. Then they become familiar or acquainted with the problems faced by the elderly. Then they are asked to write an article, rather than you are telling them you are reading a particular piece of writing before the class, and then you ask them on the basis of that, where my reading, boys and girls, please write an article or write an essay. Rather than you take them to a particular village, you take them to the Nagar Palika office or to the post office, or to the to an office where newspapers are printed. So then this will be experiential learning as well as competence. Their competencies will be nurtured there in this way. Specific. S stands for specific here. Specific says exactly what the learner will be able to do. That is focus on student behavior. So specific means authentic also here. Measurable means unrealistic. These learning outcomes should not be taken in. Measurable can be observed by the end of the training session. Suppose you have decided a particular time period, 15 days, 20 days, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. So by the end of that month, you are able to assess that competency. You are able to observe that competency in the learner. Attainable for the participants within scheduled time and specific conditions. Relevant to the needs of the participant and the organization. So again, here comes individual attention here. R stands for, again, relevant and individuality should be kept in mind. Time framed, achievable by the end of the training session. And if the child is not able to achieve or attain or master those competencies, then those competencies or those things or those methods should be carried forward. Aligning competency-based framework and 21st century skills pedagogies while curriculum planning. So this also this is also one of the important parts. Also, competency-based framework and pedagogical approaches to achieve intended learning outcomes. So these are a 21st century teacher should prepare students for jobs that have not yet been created. We saw there in the video there. Technologies that have not been invented yet. We are living in a very volatile period these days. We're changing times. Very crucial time is going on. Very hard time is going on, rather, to solve problems that have not yet been anticipated, mastering their subconscious system. So for that, competency-based education is the antidote. Okay. 21st century skills, foundational skills or literacies, literacy, numeracy, ICT literacy, scientific literacy, financial literacy, cultural and civic literacy. Cultural and civic literacy will be attained by the students when they will be taken out. Then competencies: critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, communication, collaboration. Collaboration here means these are the four C's of NEP 2020 also. Four C's: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. So in order to harness, in order to nurture these competencies in the child or in the learner, the teacher need to work hard. The teacher need to update himself or herself. Then character qualities: curiosity, initiative, persistence, grit, adaptability, leadership qualities, social and cultural awareness. So these character qualities are also to be nurtured in the learner. 21st century teacher is expected to magnify meaning, elevate experience, amplify agency. Means when we speak on the microphone, mic, our voice is not so strong that it reaches to thousands of people. But the microphone, the amplifier helps us. It amplifies our voice and it reaches to thousands of people. So the teacher should be like an amplifier there. Curate curriculum, bust barriers also, and he will be or she will be able to bust those barriers with the help of communication. The teacher must know how to bridge the gap between him or her or the learners. Teach technology also and revamp role. So these are some of the attributes which are expected from or in a 21st century teacher. 21st century competences, let's have a quick look. Communication. Communication means does not mean speaking in English. Means how able the student is, the learner is in conveying his or her ideas to others. Communication competence refers to the ability to articulate ideas and thoughts in variety of forms and contexts, the ability to listen effectively so as to understand the main points being made by others, to utilize different modes of communication as appropriate for specific purposes. These days parents also complain the children, they don't listen to them. So communication also refers to reflective listening. Listening also, communication also involves listening. So this competency needs to be nurtured, garnered among the learners by the teacher. Capacity for lifelong learning. Lifelong learning is defined as all learning activity undertaken throughout life with the aim of improving knowledge, skills, and competences within a personal, civic, social, or employment-related perspective. So, children, they must be made aware about this competency that they become learner throughout their life. They don't think that this kind of snobbery should not come there. Critical thinking and problem solving also. So this competency also needs to be nurtured. Creativity and innovation, children, they must be exhorted, they must be encouraged to do something new. Their innovation should be respected, their creativity must be respected whether you agree with or not. Citizenship and character, this is also one of the competencies that they must honor, they must regard, they must have mutual respect for other cultures also, for other people as well. Collaboration also, children sometimes they don't want to be the part of a team, so these collaborative skills or competencies must be taught by the or must be harnessed by the teacher. And computational thinking also means this is the use of ICT. This cannot be avoided at all. We cannot go away from this computational thinking. In this, I think in this competency, they are our masters. These are some of the activities to promote 21st century skills and to promote competency-based education also. Art integration, art integrated learning, Heritage India Quiz. These are some of the initiatives of CBSE. Experiential learning, science exhibition, storytelling, art exhibition, Aryabhat Ganit Challenge, reading challenge, skill education, science promotion test, Fit School Week, Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat, and CBSE expression series like Veer Gatha. Strategies, pedagogies, some of the pedagogies are there. Active learning is one of the techniques also. Case-based study is there. Inquiry-based teaching is there. Lab-based teaching is there. Problem-based experiential learning. So these are some of the pedagogies which will strengthen competency-based education, competency-based framework in the schools. I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. This is the principle, basic rule of competency-based education framework. I do and I understand. So basically, competency-based education or the framework, you must design your curriculum, you must plan your curriculum as per the needs of the students. And in place of saying, our focus should be on doing. Doing means doing the things. Experimentation should be given priority here. So that in this way, we shall be able to implement this competency-based education in true spirit. These are the words of Confucius. Active learning, we shall have a quick look at the next slides because there is time constraint. Active learning, an approach in which students solve problems, answer questions, formulate questions of their own, discuss, explain, debate, or brainstorm during class. So these strategies will help you in the implementation of competency-based education. This is not so that debating belongs to the language teachers only. Debating can be done in Hindi, English, or Sanskrit, or any means language. No, debatable topic may be there, may be taken by the science teachers, by the mathematics teacher, or by the SST teachers. You may have debates over some sensitive things. Suppose you are a teacher of computer science, so you may have a debate on the topic. Okay, AI will replace human teachers one day. So this is your topic, and children, they are debating on this. That means in this way they are showcasing their communication skills. Suppose they are working in a team, you have given them a group discussion topic, they are discussing all together, so they are showing collaborative skills also, they are generating new ideas. If suppose there is a disruptive student who does not allow them to speak, how are they managing that student? In this way they shall be able to um, uh, uh, exhibit or display or show their uh, critical thinking skills also. So debate should not be taken or should not be misunderstood as a topic of the subject language teachers. This is a universal thing rather, so far as competency based learning is concerned. Active collaborative learning, case based learning, field based learning, inquiry based learning, lab based learning, problem based learning, experiential learning, community based learning, art integrated learning, all these are the forms of competency based learning. It is up to you, how do you collaborate or how do you integrate these things in your syllabus, in your curriculum. Then comes some examples of active learning or this think, pair, and share, collaborative learning, games, reactions to videos, write and produce newsletters, students' debates, case-based studies, case-based learning, or the case method is a student-centered learning that will again promote this competency-based learning. It's complementary to it. This method uses cases, hypothetical or real life problems to supplement theoretical knowledge. In this learning strategy, students are given cases to solve, like SWOT analysis, allowing for practical application of the concepts learned in class. Then the instructor's role is that of a facilitator. Uses of CBL, case-based learning, facilitates collaborative learning in the classroom, provides students with hands-on learning opportunities to connect and apply their theoretical understanding, builds interest and motivates students to engage in active learning tasks, encourages students to learn by exploring and experimenting, develops higher cognitive skills such as critical analysis, reasoning, problem solving, introspection, and inquiry based learning. All these are the forms of competency based learning. You must align all these methods and techniques in your curriculum planning. Then comes inquiry based learning. These are some of the principles: question, data and info, useful knowledge, presentation, and then reflection. So this is a cycle. Inquiry-based learning examples. Let's discuss some of the examples here. Science experiments that will again promote this competency-based education or framework. Field trips, classroom debates, projects, and group work. Linking learning of outcomes, teaching and learning activities and assessment. These have already been discussed. Let's discuss teaching and learning activities, lectures, tutorials, discussions, laboratory work, clinical work, group work, seminars, peer group presentation. And assessment will be end of module exam, formative exams we discussed earlier, oral exams, multiple choice tests, reflective essays, reports on lab work, poster display, field work, clinical examination, presentations, performance, project work, production of artifact, or simple observation is also a kind of assessment. Now, competency-based framework, powerful strategies for implementation, effective strategies to implement the framework. Now comes the motivation part. We have dealt with the theory part. Now comes the role of the teacher. Here becomes the role of the teacher becomes very prominent here. The teacher must know how to establish a connection with the students, and he or she should help the students know exactly what to expect. Again comes here learning outcomes. He must work on the principle of positivity and reward. He must set clear rules and boundaries. Otherwise, there will be free riding in the class. Practice what you preach. Students' voice must be given priority. This should not be done that the teacher is only speaking and the children they're not participating. Fun and engagement will also contribute in the implementation of competency-based education. Set clear expectations instead of just displaying rules for behavior. Have a discussion with your students about those rules, why those rules matter. Work with your students to create a list of norms like words as inclusive, focused, and considerate to build a sense of community. It helps us own the behavior in the classroom. Actively supervise. Competency-based curriculum or framework, it gives one more responsibility to the teacher. Although it's tempting to sit at your desk and grade papers, that's also an invitation to your students who get distracted. Then you shall not be able to implement it in true manner. Move around the room, check in when you have given a project to them, check in on student progress and ask questions. It's not about policing your students, but about interacting with them. You are motivating them. Somebody said you are inspiring them. You can do it. Wow, beautiful project. Be consistent in applying rules. You will not be able to handle the team if you are not consistent in applying rules. So you must tell about the rules beforehand when you are giving a project to them. Motivate them time and again. As one of the teachers, educators said that motivation plays a very crucial part in managing students. So motivation will also be very helpful in the implementation. Prepare students to be part of a team. Here comes collaboration. You may assign small groups to them or groups as per their choice. Foster fundamental attributes and skills. Give student time and opportunities within the activity to develop leadership, decision making, trust building, communication. These are some of the competencies. Conflict management skills. Establish expectations and norms for working together. Design or have student design protocols for handling conflict disagreement. If somebody disagrees, somebody is not cooperating, what should be done in that situation? This should be decided by the student themselves. Teach students active listening skills also. Minimize opportunities for free riding. Create small groups of no more than 4 or 5 people. Ensure a high degree of individual accountability by assessing students both individually and as a group. Meaningful team roles that relate to the content and to the task. Roles like timekeeper are episodic and don't intellectually engage student in the content, and this can encourage free writing. So in order to avoid free writing there in the class, the teacher must remain very active and very dynamic. Let's be more concerned with who we are teaching rather than what we are teaching. If we apply these principles there in our teaching, there in our classroom, if we design our curriculum, we shall be able to implement this competency-based education in true spirit. You must help your student to see their own capabilities. This is also one of the basic principles of competency-based education. So this slide is very important, dear teachers. These are some of the effective methods to employ competency-based education in true spirit. The student asks the questions, good questions. Questions are valued over answers. Ideas come from a divergent source, rather. Wait a minute. Just a minute. Let me switch on the camera now. From current slide. The student asks the questions, good questions. Questions are valued over answers. Sometimes children, they will ask weird questions also, absurd questions. But you should not intimidate the child. You must value the answers. In our establishment, our director says that we must teach the students the art of asking questions. So if the children, they know how to ask questions, how to form questions, how to formulate questions, I think you have achieved the first step. Ideas come from a divergent sources. A variety of learning models are used while teaching. We discussed about the pedagogies. Classroom learning empties into a connected community. Community involvement is very crucial here. Parents' role we discussed in the very beginning of the presentation. Learning is personalized by a variety of criteria. This personal learning, one-to-one learning rather, differentiated learning is again one of the most important principles of this competency-based education. Assessment part, we discussed about assessment also, formative assessment, authentic assessment, summative assessment, is persistence in continuation. It's authentic, transparent, means unbiased, and never punitive. That we are not testing, we are not assessing the students in order to punish them. Otherwise, we shall never be able to achieve our target. We shall never be able to achieve our learning outcomes. And criteria for success is balanced and transparent. Effective methods in continuation. Learning habits are constantly modeled, and there are constant opportunities for practice. Let me add one more point here, point number 11. When the teachers also, they model their teaching habits. Then comes, teachers sometimes may pose threats knowingly or unknowingly in the implementation part. Assuming there is only one type of academic talent, this should not be done. The classroom is a heterogeneous mixture. Students come from diverse backgrounds. Being biased to what you choose to teach, sometimes we think that I'm the best teacher, my presentation is the best one. This should not be, this snobbery should not be there on your part. These days children, they know better than the teachers. I'm not saying it on screen, but sometimes when students, they have variety of sources with them, resources with them. Repetitive teaching styles and methods will not work here. This will again create a great impediment, great hindrance in the path of competency based education. A biased reaction and being negative to new ideas, no. The teachers need to become more innovative, more novel, and more welcoming. And if you do not understand it, opposite. Sometimes we do like this. No. Whatever the ideas which come from the student side, they must be respected and honored. And this is the fact that you worry about being a good teacher means that you already are one. So you people are the, we people rather are the frontline soldiers. We are doing wonders in the classroom. And if we hug this, we take this competency-based education there in the classrooms and we implement it there, I think we shall be able to make a difference in the lives of the children. Our approach should be like this only, that in this classroom mistakes will be there when you shall give projects to the children, when you shall give hands-on exercises to the children. What will happen? Mistakes will be there. So you should work on this principle, that in this classroom mistakes are rather, classroom should be replaced with the word school. In this school, mistakes are expected, respected, inspected, and corrected. If we work on this formula, I think we will be all together, we will be able to implement competency-based education. And this is the best slide ever, I think. This is the last slide. A man spoke in Sanskrit for 2 hours. Nobody was able to understand his words, his speech. By the end of the speech, somebody stood up, congratulated, complimented. Wow, sir, beautiful lecture, sir. You delivered very nice lecture, sir. I'm really impressed with your lecture. And what did you like the best about my lecture, about my presentation? Sir, the last words, iti varta, means now I end my speech. So I'm sure, I don't know whether you like my presentation or not, but you must have liked this last slide of mine. Thank you so much for being with me. And I'm really sincere apologies for the technical glitch. And I'm sure that my words will motivate you to do something new there in the classroom. This is all from my side. Thank you so much. If you have any questions,
Thank you.
you may write there in the chat box. I shall
Thank you, sir.
take your questions now.
So will we get the recording of this webinar?
I am sure your school must have recorded it, and then it will be shared with all of you.
Thank you, sir. Because we couldn't, connect in the beginning. It took at least half an hour for us to connect.
Okay. I think so. They must have recorded.
Thank you, sir.
Any queries? Any questions from any one of you? It will be really wonderful to hear from you all. No one? See, it's like when we teach the class and we don't hear from the students, we always say there are two things that happen. I think so. All of us are very well aware of those two things. That either everyone understood everything that a teacher spoke, or no one understood
Excuse me, sir.
anything what the teacher spoke.
Option A is the right one, sir. Option A.
I
You
am
sir,
sure. I am sure.
I have a small query.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So the thing is that we get a class for about, say, in case of IAC classes and all, it's for 1 hour a class. And higher standards also maybe, say, 45 minutes or to 1 hour maximum. So in this 1 hour, we have already certain difficulties with respect to the portion that we have to complete. And so doesn't this become even more difficult to bring in all the skills into one specific lecture?
Hello, ma'am. This is the grumbling of each and every teacher across the globe. I would like to say, ma'am. People think that these training programs are meant for certification only, and this will not help them there in the classrooms. Even teachers, they complain about the shortage of time, paucity of time. This is not so, ma'am. So, what is your subject, by the way, Caroline, ma'am?
Yes, sir. I teach commerce and accounts, sir.
Commerce. So, ma'am, you must integrate all these skills, all these things, competencies
Yes, sir,
in
I
your.
do.
Yeah. And this is not a Herculean
For
task.
commerce, but when teaching accounts, it becomes difficult. Yeah, there's a lot of time constraint when it comes to accounts.
Ma'am, the internet is replete with so many icebreakers, activities. Now we cannot say that the dearth of resources. So I think we must take help of our colleagues as well. Suppose we are not able to implement these things there in the classrooms. We are not able to. Sometimes we think that these activities, which have been mentioned during the webinar, during the presentation, are meant for the language teachers only. This should not be misunderstood. Means even the physical education teacher can teach communication there in the play field. And means physical education classes are the best way to teach all those four C's: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. So I think your subject is rich with, I think, activities. You must plan something accordingly. This is not so that you are making a certain different kind of curriculum or design, and then you are taking it to the classroom. Then there will be difficulty. We have our pressure to finish the syllabus well in time, because we grade the students, we assess the students. So means you must plan such type of activities which are aligned with your subject. I think in this way you will be able to implement this competency based education or framework there in the class.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other query? No queries. Somebody is writing many questions. I asked any question. Somebody is saying many questions.
I think so. I saw.
Sir, this
Yes.
is showing.
Yeah,
Yes,
somebody-
sir. This is
yeah.
showing that it was live on YouTube. On which YouTube channel it was live, so that we can see the recording which we have missed.
I think so, Prajakta, we were using Mr. Kedia's link. Either Miss Neelam.
Okay, I got it on chat.
No, sir, it has been shared. The link has been shared there in the chat box.
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am,
Thank you
you
very
can
much.
access the recording there. Yeah.
On the chat.
Whatever I have missed, I will access from that. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for the kindness.
Any other questions? Dr. Neelam, do you have anything to say?
No, sir, we are all good. It seemed to have been a very constructive session and it actually happened. That is the big relief.
Yeah.
And on behalf of Kedia sir also, thank you very much. It's been very kind of you. We look forward to all your sessions now through the rest of the year. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rajan sir. We're very
Thank you, Neelam,
grateful
ma'am.
to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr.
Thanks, sir.
Neelam. Thank you. Bye-bye. Rajan, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving this opportunity to me, sir.
I'll be in touch.
Thanks for the opportunity.